got a trimmer, so if I need to. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. We have a special guest right after this.
Justice for you and me. Justice for Mike Brown.
No justice, no peace.
After the death that shook the entire country, I decided to step up as a community activist and create a global podcast, Woke by Accident. Here, I amplify compelling news stories and matters impacting African Americans and their communities. My goal is to give a voice to the voiceless and have the difficult conversations needed to advance relations and matters of race. Tune in to Woke by Accident podcast. I am your host, Jen, and it is streaming on all of your favorite streaming platforms, as well as our website, www.wokebyaccident.net. Thank you for listening and take care. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. I am your host, Jen. Welcome. Today we have a special guest, Trey Styles, author of Black Boy Arise and the host of the podcast BlackManTalk, is back with us to chop it up again. You may recall that Trey has been with us on a few episodes, 103, 69, and a few others, and he's back. Trey? Good to see you and welcome, Trey. Um, let's see. Just want to make sure you can hear me. Welcome, Trey.
Thanks for having me. How you doing, Jen?
Okay, let me
You
make
hear
sure
me?
you're not muted or anything like that. Are you? Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't moved.
Okay,
I wasn't
great.
muted.
So, okay, for sure. Well, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing good. Everything is fine. Happy to be back to work with you.
Good. Great. Glad to hear that. And so, yeah, guys, so Trey is back with us. We appreciate him for being a great sport and joining us on as he is, hard at work on his next projects, but he did take some time out to have a conversation. So we want to get into this topic concerning this story out of Chicago, Illinois, concerning Carlisha Hood. Many Americans viewed this viral video taken by a bystander, which showed the 32-year-old, now deceased Jeremy Brown, striking the 35-year-old Carlisha Hood at a fast food restaurant in Chicago, Illinois. And many were shocked to learn that after this incident, that the mother and son were initially charged right after this incident. So, and that incident occurred last month on June 18th. Hood had an exchange with Jeremy Brown in the Chicago restaurant, I believe Maxwell's, and according to authorities, Hood texted her son to come in to help her, and he brought her registered firearm with him. And then this disturbing video clip circulated online, as we now know, shows Brown making the verbal threat to strike Hood, and then he does become violent and strike her several times. After the incident, as we mentioned, her son, the 14-year-old, did fire the firearm toward Brown, and he was pronounced dead shortly after. Hood and her son did turn themselves in the following week. And then now, later, we learned on the 26th of June that the Chicago State Attorney's Office dropped those charges she was charged with first-degree murder, along with, I believe, endangerment of a child, and then there were charges on her son as well, and so all of those charges were dropped. And so, that is the latest as far as charges are concerned. And then, so I wanted to have a conversation about like your thoughts on the video, and then there are some additional updates that we'll share about lawsuits and things like that. But just upon that initial video, which we have the bystanders video, and then we see the other side from showing him going to the car and things like that. But that initial video of the argument and it escalating, what were your thoughts on that?
Well, first and foremost, my condolences to uh, Jeremy Brown family because still somebody deceased in it all. But seeing the video, I mean, for me, it was, of course, it was heartbreaking because is a lot of issues in our community arise from like arguments and things that you know unfortunately shouldn't escalate to violence of any kind, or especially somebody losing their life. Now, the video I did see, of course, like it was uh, the person that was standing by recording the video and everything, and I mean, I did see him threatening her. I did see a video of her telling her son to go back to the car. I did see that. So
Mhm.
me first and foremost, like I'm putting myself in the 14-year-old kid's position because I'm you know I can't lie like if somebody's attacking my mother, again, it's a man, he's attacking her, then I probably would have done the same thing. Like just coming from his point of view, just defending your mother, like somebody's attacking your
That's what I
mom.
was wondering because
Go ahead.
yeah, I was wondering because you grew up in a single parent home, is that right?
Primarily,
Or your
because it was my
mother was a single mom or okay, okay.
yeah, primarily because it's like kind of like I say like the first 18 years of my life, it was like yeah, kind of like yes, for the most part, like, for the most part I did, but it was times I did have my mother had a stepfather in the home, but for the most part, yeah, primarily yes.
Mhm.
So I kind of simple.
Right. So I was just,
I kind of
and
I
I
had
thought
to
it
put
was
myself in.
interesting you offered condolences to Jeremy.
You thought it was interesting. I offered condolences to his family.
I did because a lot of people are, kind of doubling down on, oh, well, we done the same thing as the kid, and good riddance to this type of person that would commit violence and things like that.
Yeah, well, I have sympathy because at the same time, somebody still lost their life. Now, a lot of us who may say a good
Hmm.
riddance or this person deserves to be dead, you never know what kind of trauma they dealt with, or what kind of abuse they dealt with in their house, in their household. Now, I talked to
Hmm.
some guys who felt that way, but when they told me, I remember somebody beat my mom. So me, I understand that. We all have triggers. There's things in life that may be a trigger for me, but at the same time, somebody lost their life, and that's still somebody loved one. You know, Here's the thing. Sadly, in the
Hmm.
African American community, we have cousins, we have relatives, we have sisters, and people that's involved in all kind of illicit activities. Some of them are involved in the drug game. Now, you see people saying "rest in peace" to a big time drug dealer who probably put hits on people. You'll see people saying "rest in peace" to uh, you know, somebody who probably took the life of someone, you know,
Hmm.
and people still love them people because that's their family members. Because you got to remember one thing: a lot of times, like no matter what people might be or how people might view people, somebody still love them. And I'm not saying I never said what he did was justified, but I'm just saying condolences because somebody still lost a loved one. I know people personally, this, going on tandem a little bit,
Right.
who lost people to drunk drivers. When I was a little kid, I was in the car and I got hit by a drunk driver while I was waiting in the car as a little kid. I didn't die. I did have to go to the hospital and get stitches, but it was relatives that was there with me that
Mm-hmm.
attacked the guy. He was driving drunk. Now, let's say if one of my relatives had, killed the guy, people say, oh yeah, people on our end say, oh yeah, we understand that. I mean, he hit you, you a kid. He driving drunk, he putting people's life in danger. But his family, they perspective would be like, okay, wait a minute, you could have, okay, I mean, your son didn't die. I mean, at least you could have, let the police deal with it. I mean, it's gonna always be a lot of perspectives, no matter who is getting hurt. Now, I want to say this. Now, I understand that you are a woman, and it's not, you putting yourself in her shoes, especially. That's why a lot of women coming from. But I'm also letting you know that me understanding how, when the death happened or somebody get locked up, both families hurt. Now, I'm not gonna call a man out his name or call him a scoundrel or any of those things because I didn't know him personally. I don't know her personally. But I'm just saying I said condolences because at the end of the day, he still lost his life, and he still got people that love him. Now, some people say, okay, her son protected her, but at the end of the day, he has daughters, right? To my knowledge, their daughters
Because
are
I'm
without a
sure
father.
people watching or listening.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right. And I'm saying he has
True.
daughters,
True.
to my knowledge, and they love him. To them, they daddy probably was a king. You don't know. I mean, was definitely a king. That's their dad. He probably was their everything. Now at the same time, you know,
Mm-hmm.
just what you see on that video, because I hear people saying, "Oh, he might be this, but I can't say that for sure." But I can say, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation. It takes a second to destroy it. That's all it takes. We all got a boiling point, got a break point, justify anything. But I'm just saying, like his daughters, he makes sure his
Right.
daughters like princesses. You know what I'm saying? I'm there. That's the reality. I know people, in
Mm-hmm.
family, outside the family, in the neighborhood, they treat their family like gold, but they treat everybody else family, excuse the expression, like shit. I know people that's like that, and I'm not saying that's the case. So I'm just saying that's like
Mm-hmm.
I can't. That's why I said condolences to it because at the end of the day, he's still a human being, and everybody involved in this is a human being. And at the end of the day, I just hate it was another bad thing, hurtful thing happening in our community. I love my community. I love my people, and unfortunately, this incident happens too often. Incidents like this happen too often.
Definitely. Um, we hope that he didn't display that type of violence to his children, you know, and that they had a great, opinion of him, and that he showed love and kindness to his children at least. I would hope that. Um, but I did want to address that because people may be wondering. Because I know I've heard people say, and it may come from a trigger of when people say "good riddance" or "he deserved it" or what have you, because they've been there or they've seen it. They may have seen their mother go through something similar, and that woman, even though she kind of had like a kind of vacant feeling, she was scared. You know what I mean? She was scared for her to send a message to her son to come in there. He kind of was telling like this wasn't the first time that this guy got violent with her and that she was scared. And so and he probably was looking at her being in distress like that. You know what I mean? What's your thoughts on like maybe like putting yourself in the young man's shoes, wanting to protect your mother or come to her rescue even?
Well, I want to be clear. Like, I mean, like I'm not. It's just like correction. Like you said that he's like been violent with her before. Like I don't know if they knew each other or anything like that. Them two in particular. So no, I'm just going to correct it so we can be clear about that. Like I said, like early on, I put myself in a 14-year-old shoes. I know somebody's attacking my mom, and you know, I
Mhm.
most likely do the same thing. Now, the unfortunate thing is that's something he has to deal with. I don't know the 14-year-old what he's dealt with, what he's seen in his life, but you know, I, I mean, he's from Chicago. I'm from Detroit. He's from St. Louis. Our cities, a lot of similar things happen in Chicago, St. Louis, and Detroit. So I look at myself as a 14-year-old, you know, and what I experienced as a 14-year-old, and it was kind of on the, but it was on the other end of it. Now, I mean, I understand where the kid coming from. I mean, that's his mother. He's protecting his mother. I just it's just gonna be tough for him, dealing with that trauma and understand that he did take somebody's life. And another aspect of we don't talk about it is like I get that he's defending his mother, and I don't personally fault him for defending his mother, because that's his mom. And like I said, I would have defended my mom, and practically everybody I talked to said I would have defended
Okay,
my
and so
mom
you
as well. Say it again.
actually they knew each other, and so you're under the impression that they did not, that they were just custom.
So what are you saying that do you know if they knew each other? Like, I mean, maybe enough information I don't
Well,
know.
that's what
Because I
I
never heard
mean,
that they
I
knew each other.
thought that. Okay, well, that's
Hmm.
interesting. And I don't
No,
know that to
no,
be
yeah. So
true, but I
I
mean,
don't think
it's yeah. So they just
I
were
don't
in
think they knew each
line.
other. Yeah, I don't think they knew each other at all.
Okay, he was, because my understanding, his uh agitation was like her making a correction to her order or holding up the line, like kind of hurry up, right? Is that the understanding that you had?
I mean that's what I heard, but like I said, like we're gonna go off what we seen, because I don't know, like, before the camera came on, what was said or what was done. Now I'm
Hmm.
not saying it justifies him punching her, but I'm saying I don't know what initiated it at all. It's a lot of speculation, so that's why I just go from the
Right, I
actual
mean, he
video
made a
from what we.
comment about the food order. Yeah, and this is so many unofficial stories. Like, I think the lady that was actually the bystander with the camera, made some comment. I want to say it was like holding up the line, like, "Oh, you're taking so long, like, hurry up, get your food, hurry up," type of thing. So that's interesting. So that's another thing that, like, it's Chicago. I don't know this guy, and he's already, gotten violent. So that's another kind of instance of fear, or another like level of fear that's heightened if you don't even know the guy, you know.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this, like, because I know some people don't like when they say you. People say, okay, you making excuses for the guy, especially when you're a man and things like that. My thing is this. Quite frankly,
mhm,
both of them could have walked away. I mean, like, from what we see on the video, both could have walked
okay,
away, or either one of them could have walked away. Yeah, I mean, that's just the truth. It's not gonna bring him back. We just talking about what the could have been.
right.
That's why it's like when you go outside of that, it's like, but that didn't happen. Like, okay, that's like some people was talking about what happened with back
Yeah. Well,
4 years back. What happened?
I was thinking it's interesting too that no one said anything.
Well, for me, I like I said, I talk with different men and different people. Period about this.
Mhm.
I have to say that back in the day, our community was different. Back in the day, we was more unified in our community. Back in the day, we had more of a code. back in the day. It was more love. It was more community. Things have changed. People have changed. We was more communalistic back in the past in the African American community. Now we're more individualistic. It's like we about ourselves. We about our own people, and I mean own people. Not I mean black people, but our own actual family members. So a lot of people say somebody could have done something, but at the end of the day, it's people who have lost their lives by trying to help and get in situations that had nothing directly to do with them. So for me, it takes a lot. It takes a lot for a person to really stick their nose out there and get in that. People could try to shame you and say, "Oh, you should have did this, you should have did that," but a lot of people, are reluctant to risk their life. You don't know what can happen in situations like that. You don't know her, you don't know him, you don't know what she's involved in, you don't know what he's involved in. Now, me personally, some people probably got mad at me because I wouldn't. I can't say that if I was in it, I would have got involved in that. And I don't care if people say I'm a punk or a coward, a sucker, or anything. I wouldn't care about none of that. But it's just like at the end of the day, it takes a lot for you to put yourself at risk for someone you don't know, and you don't know what they're involved in. You don't know what could happen. Now, back in the day, we was more of a code, like more amongst men, like, okay, look, brother, just let it go. Brother, just let it go. And, you can talk to them and all that. But now it's a different generation. Now, I do think we need to eventually get back to that so we can avoid situations like that. But I know for you to ask me, not even saying you asking me, but like when I'm in a situation like that with a random guy and a random lady I don't know, I'm not gonna get involved in that necessarily. Now, there's cases where I think I will get involved, like if it's like I see somebody trying to snatch up a little kid. Certain situations I take risks in. It is what it is. Like seeing somebody get raped, like if I could, a woman, a little kid, certain things I take my chance in. I know people say, okay, wait a minute, that's a violent. I didn't know him. I didn't know her. If you in there, I don't know if they knew each other. I don't know what was going on if you just come in there.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot to intervene. I know I see a lot of women, like in particular, I gotta say this, like trying to shame men, like none of the men did anything. None of the men did anything. Well, I mean, you can't just expect, random men just to risk their life for you. You just can't.
I mean, I don't necessarily feel like it would have been risking your life just to say something like kind of de-escalate the situation. Like you said, maybe both of them could have walked away, but they probably say, "Well, I'll pay for my food. I'm gonna get my food." You know what I mean? And now, nobody got their food. So
But it's been incidents in life that has happened when people just try to stop it and they end up getting hurt because you're trying to stop a man. You see a man beating a woman, and the woman and the man start
yeah,
jumping you. I'm saying now, just being an innocent bystander, I don't know who these people are. I'm coming in there. I don't know him. I don't know her. I'm not getting in that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like now maybe back in the day it would have been a
okay,
little different. We had more love for each other back then. We had more understanding. It was a code. Certain things you didn't do. You didn't disrespect people's mamas and grandma. You didn't call people grandmas bitches. You didn't do things like that. Things have changed now. It's changed. It's changed dramatically, and so it takes a lot to ask somebody to risk their life for that. That's why I understand like where the son come in because at the end of the day, like if I'm in that situation, I'm not. I don't expect no other guys to stand up for my
compelled.
mom. Yeah. I don't expect
Right.
other guys to stand up for my mom. Now, if they did that, I would appreciate that. And if the guy tried to, like, I'm just saying, like, in a situation, if I was in there to step in and the guy tried to fight a guy that was stepping up for my mom, I would help the guy that was helping my mom. And I would appreciate that because he took that risk. But I'm not going to call him a coward. I'm not going to call him a punk or a hoe because he didn't get involved in that. He doesn't know my mother. He doesn't know me. He don't know what's going on. So I understand him not sticking his nose in that. Now, on the flip side, I would ask you, like Jen, like
Okay.
just think about I understand that you empathize with Miss Hood, because she's a woman. Not only a woman, she's a black woman like you. And we all
Hmm.
of us, all the parties are black. I empathize because I was a 14-year-old kid with a mom that I would protect.
Hmm.
I didn't care who it was. No, I wouldn't risk my life for it. It would just been do or die. So I understand where he's coming from. But then there's also, people who like love Jeremy Brown. Like, and their perspective is like, okay, I mean,
Mm.
we only saw what we saw. How you know she didn't start something with him? Yes, it didn't justify you necessarily putting your hand on somebody because they talking trash. But some people say like if she hadn't did this or did that. I mean, that's gonna be the perspective. Like in another reality of this situation, some that's not really talked about online is how real it gets in the African American community. What I mean by that is that yes, the charges were dropped. You know, the charges were dropped, but that don't mean it's over.
Mhm. Right.
You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean it's over at all. Because you got to understand, like,
From
say it again.
Yeah, I just want to clarify if you meant like further um, disputes or further legal ramifications, or what you meant by that.
Well, well, that could be both, but I was talking in terms of like the further disputes because I mean it doesn't make it right.
Hmm.
Doesn't I ain't saying make it right or wrong, but some people look like they just like, oh, that's my loved one. We grow up blood, stick it in water, and some people gonna ride right or wrong. You have
Yeah,
people that's like that. So it's just like that's why it's best to avoid it. Like I can always say, like me, I'm a calm, cool, and collected guy. And one thing that a lot of us had to work on, like just in our community, men and women, it's just having more emotional control. We really need to work on having more emotional control. Because there's been times people made me angry, but I didn't lash out,
right.
and I would just remove myself in that situation. So you know, then we had need to work on
Definitely.
having more emotional control. And definitely the brothers, we got to work on having more emotional control because at least a lot of us killing each other and hurting each other. Getting fights and off stairs and glares and stuff like that, and it's ain't even necessary.
Yeah. It's not worth it either. It's really not.
Never worth.
Someone losing their
Never worth.
life over, you looked at me or what, you know. Yeah.
And that's the thing, Jen, is like when you stepping into a confrontation between two parties that you don't know what that person going through. You don't know what's their triggers. You don't know. There's some people that come out in this world looking for trouble, looking for drama. Some people go to the club to actually have a good time. Some people go to the club to actually start fights and start trouble with somebody.
Yeah.
So it's just like, to me, I wouldn't let nobody shame me.
Hmm.
Like, and say, you should have did this or that, because if I was one of the people in there, I can't say I would have got involved in that either. But then, like I said, there's some scenarios where certain
Okay.
situations I
I
will say,
understand that. I understand. Definitely. So, like, how could future incidents like this be avoided? You mentioned like maybe they could have both walked away. Is that kind of the solution here?
well, I mean, that could have been the solution in this case, because he would still be alive, and
Mm,
her son and her would never have to deal with the trauma they dealing with, and his kids and his family, they won't be mourning a loss. At least from this incident. But the solution is us working in our community, learning how to de-escalate, learning how to communicate, learning how to talk, having emotional control, understanding that we don't have to always go to blows just because we have a disagreement. Just that's something we got to work on in
right.
our community. Like, and it starts with like us loving ourselves, so having more self love, and really dealing with what we need to deal with, like in the home first and foremost. Because in this topic, it's a black man, a black woman, essentially a black child in this situation, and you hearing, you know, many black women perspective on it, like, oh, he's, you know, feel like in this case, the young black man stood up for his mom. I feel like a black man was harming his mom, and you got different people that look at it from different ways. Then you got some brothers who think like, okay, like if she actually did, because I don't know if it's actual facts that she actually texted her son. I did see her tell him to go back to the car. Well, he was right there, but I'm not going back to the car if the guys arguing with my mama either. So I'm not going back to the car. You know, she got to come push me and me, do whatever, but I'm not going back to the car if somebody's in my mother's face. So and then some people look at it like, okay, now I talk to different people. If she had actually texted him and told him to get the gun, I mean, like, if that actually happened, like, she could have left. I'm saying both parties could have left at the end of the day. I'm not trying to blame anybody. It's just unfortunate. But it's just like
Yeah, right, right.
they both could have
It really
really
is.
left, and it's just bias. It's gonna be a lot of bias on both sides though, because you have some people in our community. I'm just talking about with our community. You got some black men that have animosity towards black women. You have some black women that have animosity towards black men, so they can't see it
Mhm.
from either way. You know, when I was, so I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at it on the
Right.
whole. If I was that 14-year-old kid, yes, I would have done the same thing. I understand that. But if I was Jeremy Brown's kids, you know,
Okay.
I, you know, I would feel a certain kind of way as well. So it's just like that's why I was saying like the perspective of it, but it's just unfortunate. But I understand. I understand why the young man did what he did. I understand why the charges were dropped. I understand that from what we seen on the video.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm glad the bystander was filming. I mean, we see so much of it's like, oh, everybody always breaks out their camera to film everything. But in, cases like this, it really kind of probably helped get those charges dropped because I don't think they would have saw that side of the dispute to see how the argument escalated and the violence that initiated the whole thing, which made it, I guess, reasonable, or I'm not a lawyer, but whatever the legal rationale for them dropping the charges, you know what I mean? I think that extra footage helped with that, so I'm glad they had that,
Yeah, and that's
because a
good.
lot of times you don't have
Yeah,
the video, you know.
yeah, yeah. Because just think about in the case of people who were innocent and went to prison for something they didn't do. If they had somebody recording that, they probably wouldn't went to prison.
Hmm.
So I understand that. Another thing I want to say, like, just on the
Definitely.
people, just people understanding, like, kind of like the streets a little bit, and understand things that go on and in the hood. That why, what I say, ideally they both could have walked away, or at least one could have walked away. What I mean by that is like
Mhm.
why Jeremy Brown lost his life. If if Jeremy Brown like had one of his people with him, or had a relative with him, or friend, or homie, or whatever, and they was in the car, and just say she actually did. I'm just saying if she actually did that, text her son to get the gun. I know I saw the part where she told him to go back to the car though, but she actually did text him to go get the gun. Now, when he came in and fired at him, if he had somebody with him, it didn't happen. I'm saying his people could have came and took her son's life. Like they came right behind him. You know what I'm saying? That's a real
That's
thing.
true.
That's a real thing that could have happened like that. Then just imagine
That's true.
how she would feel. Like while you are a mother and you probably feel
Oh
some
yeah,
kind
it
of
could
way.
have been a big massacre,
Yeah, because
especially in Chicago.
well, I mean, yeah, but anywhere like our city, but especially because you have a gang culture there. But yes, I saw something like it's
Hmm.
ideal to walk away. Like I
Hmm.
don't, and then me personally, I wouldn't. Me personally, just not going to shade to anybody. I wouldn't really be arguing with a woman that I don't really know in the street anyway. I don't really argue with ones I know personally, but like ones in the street I don't know nothing about you, and I know there's always some guy sometimes is around, some kind of they can tell anything. I'm not throwing shade at women, make it clear. I'm just saying this. I wouldn't really be arguing with somebody I don't know anyway. And if I see that if she was agitating me on some drama, I would just leave. You know,
Yeah.
so I watch my back, but I'll leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's definitely I think thank you for sharing your perspective and being honest about that because like a lot of people may push back with people have really strong feelings about this
yeah,
I've heard people that have children around and I would have told my son to do the same thing, and which is interesting. And I guess, it may be like a generational thing
mhm.
or, something. But I know how my mother is, and she wouldn't have done that. She
See,
wouldn't have
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
my brother to be in harm's way, and she would have
yeah.
rather something than, something potentially happening to her children. You know what I mean? Even if it means her getting hit by some guy, you know?
That part I'd agree because I think me personally, my mama would been like your mama in that regard. You know, like
Yeah,
very
that's just
protective.
how she is. Like
Yeah,
she literally I mean, she wouldn't want, but I understand, and that's why I don't know if it's generational, because I'm the ones that are saying it are younger, and so but I understand why they're saying it. But I
yeah,
just know how my mother, she would not
yeah. It's it's,
have
it, it's definitely generational too. It's definitely.
ever. Okay.
And
Okay.
I think a
And I've
lot
been
of I
kind of
think
holding that. I didn't really share that. Yeah.
mhm.
Because it's an unpopular opinion for sure.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Like in life, you got to stand on what you believe in. Some people ain't gonna agree with what you say.
Mhm.
Me, I'm not worried about pushback. I'm
Mhm.
not worried about people
Yeah.
saying about me saying what I would or wouldn't have done. I mean, nobody's gonna
Right.
change my opinion about that or my view on that. And I got my reasons because things I went through in my life. I got my reasons for moving to the way
Mhm.
I move. I
Mhm.
agree with you. Like I don't, my
Right.
mom wouldn't have done that either. But my mom knows me, and she knows ever since I was a little kid. Like it's natural. Men are natural protectors of naturally of the women in their life, and she already know. Like I mean, let's say I didn't have a gun, and I'm a 14-year-old kid, and there's a man in there. I'm
Mhm.
coming in, and I was gonna get in immediately. Even if that man knocked
Mhm.
me out,
Mhm.
he was gonna knock me out. But because
Yeah.
me personally, I was 14. Like, just the fact that you arguing with my mama, I'm coming in there, I'm stepping in between you. Like what's up? You might knock me out, because but you gonna have to knock me out. And she'd be like, "Move, go back." And then that probably, my mom when I
Right.
came in, my mom probably tried to push me out and said, "Let's just go, let's go." And she might would have left with me. But personally, I can tell you about my mother, like, because she comes from a different generation. And she came up in a hip hop generation. They know they was around when crack hit and it
Mhm.
got real. That's the generation they come from, so she know how real it is. But she wouldn't be, like personally, not saying nothing. She wouldn't be arguing with a man she don't know on the street
Mhm.
because she already said like these guys they don't play. They knock the hell out of you. And she said now she might try to argue with me or my cousins, you
Mhm.
know, the people she know that ain't gonna do her, like that. But she wouldn't be arguing with a man she don't know in the street. Because personally, when
Right.
once it being
Right.
allowed, it probably
And
would
to
have
then
real.
to send you in.
Man.
Right. Yeah.
Now, I do want to say one more thing, Jen, about this,
Oh
and
wow.
this is
It's just so yeah.
yeah. I want to say just one more thing about this, like, and it's
Yeah.
not to throw shade at nobody, but I have to tell you, like, I know a lot of people sometimes who have guns and who have like these guns licensed. What they fail to realize, you hear some people say, "I'm not arguing with nobody. I'm not finna discuss no nobody. Anybody come me wrong, I'm popping them just like that." And you have a lot of people that say that. You don't know if they really do that in that situation. But I'm a licensed carrier myself, and I know it's
Mhm.
certain rules to being a licensed carrier. You just can't
Mhm.
shoot people. And I ain't saying that's what happened to this one. I'm saying, but a lot of people who making comments have these licenses and think they can just do this or shoot somebody or do all that. You can't just shoot people. There's certain rules. Like, there's just certain rules. Like
Mhm.
somebody in Michigan, I don't know how it is. Somebody,
Right.
so if I came outside and somebody was still in my car, I can't shoot them. You know, I can't shoot them.
Really?
That's not,
Okay.
yeah, that's not looked at self defense here in Michigan. Now, if I'm in my car and they're trying to carjack me and I shoot, that's considered life threatening. That's self defense. So, it's
Okay.
gotta be mindful of the
Yeah.
law, the gun laws, and the things you're dealing with. Which and sometimes it's like
You
kind of
do.
like yeah, kind of crazy because if somebody's trying to carjack you, of course, I understand that's life threatening and all that, but you know, they might have a gun on me, and but it's just a lot of laws. It's a lot of stuff that's kind of like I don't necessarily agree with, but hey, I'm not a lawmaker. But you just gotta be mindful of those laws when you have these guns. You just ain't it don't give you a license to kill. You know, it's not a license to kill. It's still rules you gotta abide
Right.
by because it's people who have shot people with licensed guns and they still got time and got considerable time for a variety of reasons. Sometimes because they didn't have the money to get a good lawyer. Sometimes because they didn't have witnesses. Sometimes because they
Mm.
was in the wrong.
Right. Definitely. No, that was a good point. I'm glad you shared that for sure because, like in Missouri, it is different. I think we do have the castle doctrine, and it is an open, carry state here in Missouri.
Mhm.
So, while you can go get your CCW, you don't need it to carry your gun. Like you literally could go in the gas. And sometimes you do. You go to the gas station and you see people on their hip because
Mhm.
as long if a store has the sign that says, no weapons, that's the only time you really can't go. But just walking, around, moving around, you can have your gun on you
Yeah.
if it's an open carry state.
Mhm.
So knowing the law is, crucial, critical for sure. And these laws change, because that was something that happened in the last, 5, 7, 8 years. So
Yes.
it's a whole another conversation.
Oh yeah. Oh, for
So
sure.
definitely. Let's see what else we wanted to share on this. I saw that the celebrity and rapper Nicki Minaj offered college tuition assistance to Carlisha Hood's son upon seeing this story and being impacted. And she, shared that publicly. And I think um, Miss Hood accepted. So that's something I wanted to, mention that, you know, she wanted to get involved and help. But I'm just glad the charges got dropped because that could really have changed all of their lives, forever. I mean, their lives are already going to be impacted, but, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and from my understanding, she's filing suit against the city.
Uh huh.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. Yeah. All right. Well, Trey, I appreciate you joining this conversation with me. We'll provide updates as the city wrongful charges and things like that. So we'll see how that goes. Please remind us of your platform and invite people to take a look and check you out.
All right. As you all know, I'm Trey Styles. I'm the author of Black Boy Rise. You can check out my book on Amazon.com. And you can also check out my podcast called Black Man Talk. One word, Black Man Talk. Not black men, Black Man Talk. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, and also other social media platforms.
Awesome. So we will have that link or those links posted, guys, in the show notes. So, please check out Trey's content. He's a awesome author and content creator, and we support
Thank
our
you.
content creators. So, shout out to Trey and what he's doing. Definitely. And you're welcome here
Appreciate it.
anytime. So please, come back and join us. We appreciate having you.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. If you made it this far in the video, for sure, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. We appreciate you so much and take care.